Alright, I'm going to show you some things to finish up this tin work. I'm looking at the top of the enclosure on a 9770 here, and if you look around the edge of your field of view, you'll see that I've run this foil tape, strips of it around the top, over the top of the screw heads. The idea is to keep the screws from rattling loose. They're under that aluminum foil tape. You press that down, make it form fit, and it'll keep the screws from rattling loose. Similarly, now on the back side, this is the grain tank side. I've got tape on the vertical seams around there, and here around the end wherever there's screws. Underneath here, I put the last screws in under here. I didn't hit them all with the tape. It's not necessary, but it'll help some. And then you notice this trap door back here. It's punched open about 3/8 of an inch. That'll allow some air to flow that into the manifold and out there. We go down to this end. I put some tape around this sensor hole to tighten it up just a little bit, and some on the screws around there. There's a little bit of a gap around there, and I can just make it a little bit less with some of that tape. If we come to the radiator end, this is that part that's really difficult to get in there. Have to bend it up to get it in place. And I put some tape on the screws, and then a couple pieces of tape around that coolant line that leaves there to tighten that space up. I really don't want dusty air being able to blow in around that and get in the inside of our enclosure. So the rest of this is pretty tight. It'll behave pretty well, I think. So we're pretty much done with the assembly of the tin part. Now we have to worry about getting air into the system. I'm coming up over the top of the enclosure again, and we had a 4-inch hole on this panel on this side. I'm looking down. You're probably upside down now, but looking down on top of this, we had a 4-inch hole in this panel, and I put a stub entry collar, a 4-inch stub entry HVAC in there. I bent 4 of the tabs out, all the way out to the collar part of this thing, and then you stick it in there, reach in through the collar, and bend the fingers out 90 degrees against the inside of this so that it can't pull out. And then I've screwed down the 4 screw tabs that I bent out with a screw into this to shoot them through this self-drilling tapping screw. And then I will come back and tape this with some of that foil tape to seal it up around the edges. I don't want to lose air before we get it into the box. Now then you can see I've slipped on here a swivel collar, a swivel 90. It's a HVAC swivel 90, and we can rotate this. And now I put a rubber 90 on the end of it just to show you. I'll probably use that in practice here too. Slip it onto the galvanized fitting, and then we'll get it lined up and get the rest of our tubes assembled. So when we have it all in place, connected up, pointed the way we want to, and I'll come back and tape these swivel joints with that foil tape to lock them all in place. I'll also put 3 or 4 screws through the rubber fitting into the HVAC collar or HVAC swivel 90 here. You do that because you can't really put a clamp on that. You clamp very hard and you just crush the galvanized fitting, but the screws go through it. You have to be a little ginger because they'll pull right through the rubber, but once they bite into the tin, you can pull them in just a little bit, and then that'll keep it from wanting to come off of there. And then we tape over that joint with that foil tape as well, and that'll seal that up. And the rest of it from there on is just hose clamps over the 16-inch or 16-gauge 4-inch galvanized or aluminum tubes. So that's how we're going to get the air in here. I'm right now pointing this 90 down underneath the front end of the muffler here, and that's where we're going to shoot down there, and then we'll hit another 90, and that'll take us right into the fan. We'll show you that when we get the fan mounted. So that's the last part of the installation here. I'll probably show it to you when we have it finished, but that's how you're going to get the air into this box. The box is pretty rigid now. It's not going anywhere. It's bolted down, screwed together. It's got enough. I hope it's got enough leaks to exchange air throughout it, and it will keep that hot system from igniting any dust. So we'll come back when we have and show you how to mount the fan, blower, and do the hydraulics.